Well, Happy New Year's, everyone, or Happy New Year. There's been a big debate about which one is proper English, so I'll just throw them both out there, and hopefully I can cover the spectrum. Well, welcome to my first episode of 365 Science of Mind. My name is Antonio Thornton, and I'm going to be sharing with you my journey going through this phenomenal book here, 365 lessons from the Science of Mind textbook by Ernest Holmes. And if you don't have a copy of this for yourself, I definitely recommend picking one up at your local bookstore, Amazon.com, and I'll also provide a link to you guys in the section below or above the video. So with this being my first episode, I just want to set a couple ground rules here and kind of tell you what to expect. So what to expect here is really, I don't know, because I have no idea what this is going to morph or evolve into over this next year. I will be doing these daily and hopefully posting them, I think, at 10 a.m. on both my YouTube and Facebook, my YouTube channel, my Facebook page. So you can always tune in there. I might even shift to doing this Facebook Live, depends on how many bloopers I have and how many times I have to do this over. But feel free to tell your friends about it. That would be awesome. Share the video if you feel it's great information, and also comment as well. If you like what you're hearing, let me know. If you don't, keep that to yourself. Just kidding. But no, I do welcome feedback, actually, because this is a journey of discovery for me. And if you have a different perspective or a different opinion, I'd love to hear that. I like to keep it positive. I like to keep it, constructive criticisms if you do choose so, because I'm totally open to that. I like to stay away from a lot of the, negativity and all those types of things. But if you've got some good feedback that you want to provide, I'm always open to that because I think a good, healthy conversation and debate is great for all of our growth. So really what I'm going to be doing is either from the book or my trusty Kindle app, I will be reading some of the text. And feel free to follow along if you like, or if you don't, you could just listen to me and look at my gorgeous face. I can't believe I just said that on camera, but whatever. This is the new year, so we're going to keep it going. But I'm going to just read you some of the text and just kind of pull out some of the things that really resonated with me. Hopefully these things may stand out for you, and if you get something else, again, feel free to comment and let me know what your thoughts are. But I'm just going to kind of really pull out what I feel really stood out for me and made the biggest difference in whatever the lesson is. And with that said, I guess I'll go ahead and jump right on in. So today's lesson is January 1, so New Year's Day. There's a quote in most of these, and it's usually from different places, but this one is actually from the Bible, and it says, "I create new heavens and a new earth," and that's from Isaiah 65:17. So I'm going to go ahead and read this lesson here. It says, "We have been given the ability to initiate a new chain of causation. There is but one mind, and we use it. The laws of nature are universal, but our use of them is individual and personal. Our thought is operated on by a universal creativity that is infinite in its capacity to accomplish. Thus, in taking thought, we do not force anything. We merely decide what thought to follow, knowing that the result is automatic. Spirit is forever unfolding its own nature. In the physical universe, it does so independently of our thought. In our personal lives, it must do its renewing activity through our thinking. Now, I'm going to go ahead and skip down to the next paragraph here. I'm not going to be reading this word for word. You can go back and I'm just going to pull out the lessons that we got from it. It says, everything is continually being recreated. Spirit is forever making all things new. Today is the time to prove ourselves that it knows how to bring the right things to pass for us. Let us confidently affirm the divine presence and actually believe that is guiding us as we consciously bring a problem we are facing into our thought, not as a problem, but as though we were receiving the answer. And I'm just going to read this first portion. Now, this next portion down here gets into what's called an affirmation that you can use to reinforce the lesson here. And I'm just going to read the first portion of it. It says, I believe that divine intelligence, which is the mind of God, is guiding, guarding, and directing my thoughts and actions. And the rest of this affirmation is pretty powerful. So if you do have the text, I would recommend taking a look at it. But there were a few things that really stood out for me in this. And I'll just say this because I know this is a conversation that has been up for debate for quite some time. But you have the one school of thought is that the new year and the astrological energies that go along with our calendar year bring about certain power, certain forces, certain energies that will back you in manifesting or creating things that you want. And I do believe that there is some validity in that. But then there's this other school of thought that January 1st is just another arbitrary day. And I think to a large degree, both are true in that there is something to be said about the new year, but there's also something to be said about being able to create and manifest the things that you desire at any given time of the year, whether it's the new first of the year, whether it's the last of the year, whether it's the middle of the year. In that we have the creative ability, and I'll just go back to the text here. It says, we have been given the ability to initiate a new chain of causation. And that new chain of causation can take place at any given time. Some people feel you have to hit rock bottom before you can make a change. Some people feel that you have to make a change at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of the year, or whatever. You hear a lot of people going into the gym during the beginning of the year for those first 3 weeks. I typically don't go those first 3 weeks because it's usually packed with people who will never be in there for the rest of the year. But I say all that to say this. Those people chose the beginning of the year to make a change, not necessarily for themselves, not necessarily for their own understanding that they have the ability to initiate a new chain of causation, putting that power, if you want to call it, into the hands of just an arbitrary day does tend to create the lack of commitment to the things that we do when we quote unquote create New Year's resolutions. So do we need to wait to the beginning of the year to do a thing? No. Do we need to wait to the beginning of the week to start a diet? No. We can do those things at any given time. And that's the one thing that I really got from that. Now, mind you, the end of the year, a lot of times there's a lot of personal introspection and people have the mindset of, leaving old thoughts and behaviors behind and moving into a new space. And that's a great thing to do. However, don't ignore or overlook the importance of the root cause of that is that is the ability that we have been given, not because of arbitrary dates in the year, because that is what God, spirit, energy, whatever we call that. And by the way, just a side note, you'll hear me reference it a lot of different ways. So don't get alarmed or offended by any of that. Choose whatever your higher power, your higher source is, whatever name you choose to call it. I call it different things on different days depending on how I'm feeling. But my point is that the one mind of God that we all are a part of, that is the ultimate creator. That is the thing that gives us this innate ability to cause whatever it is we desire in our lives, not an arbitrary date. So I'm going to go on to this next thing that I brought out here, is that our thought is operated on by a universal creativity that is infinite in its capacity to accomplish. So, so as a segue from what I just said, is that no, we're not subject to arbitrary dates in the year. We have a deeper, a more powerful cause that gives us the ability to create on our own. But in that, it is infinite in its ability to create, infinite, infinite, meaning that there's no limit to it. And that is the power that backs our thought, if you will, as we're constantly creating our reality, is this infinite power that has the ability to accomplish anything. Now, and let me read this next sentence as well, because this is just as important. Thus, in taking thought, meaning when you're thinking about anything, we don't have to force anything. So, you don't have to grind things out. You don't have to force things. You don't have to use brute force to get the things that you desire. We merely decide what thought to follow. So what is it that you desire? What is it that you want for yourself? And attach yourself to that thought without the idea of having to force anything. And we do that. We decide what thought to follow, knowing that the result is automatic. That is powerful. I'm going to highlight that again here. Knowing that the result is automatic. Spirit is forever unfolding its own nature. And in the physical universe, it does so independently of our thought. In our personal lives, it must do so in renewing activity through our thinking, Our thinking is what allows this force and what guides our reality with this force back of us. So what can you take from this? I'm all about practicality and just being a pragmatist. I like to think, how do you apply these very, very powerful lessons? One is just coming into the knowing that the beginning of the year is, it has its own energy. January 1st has its own energy, but you're not limited to that energy as to how, when, or how grandiose you can create your own life. You can make that choice at any given time. Now is a great time to do it because, again, our calendar year allows us to visually we kind of personify, if you will, the leaving of things behind, the taking things that we once did and leaving those things behind and springing forth into a new way of being, otherwise known as a new year. But always know that the new year is not what gives you the power to do that, but what gives you the power to do that is this infinite source of creativity. This infinite source of creativity is what gives you the power to do that. And when you move with that mindset, life becomes easy. And let me rephrase that. There comes an ease in life. Things may not be or feel easy, but there will be an ease to life when you understand that it's not just about you having to use brute force to create the things that you want, but when you focus your thought on the thing that is you desire, the infinite powers that create all of this around us backs us and guides us and guards us and creates on our behalf. And that's a very, very powerful way to begin the year, to begin knowing that you don't have to force things, begin knowing that you have this amazing power behind you to support you along the way. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end today's lesson. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to you guys joining me on this journey. This 365 Science of Mind, this is really for me. And you guys are a part of the journey for me, because I'm learning. I'm not just here to share my thoughts and teach you guys, but I'm also here to learn. So I'm going to be learning just as much as you guys are in this entire process. Now, moving forward, I want to keep these videos down to less than 10 minutes, actually preferably around 5 or so. But being that this is the first episode and have no idea what to expect, I'm kind of doing this on the fly right now. I do plan to trim these videos down to keep them a little bit shorter, something that you can grab at the beginning of your day and take into the rest of your day to keep you on track and keep you focused. Again, if you don't have it, grab 365 Science of Mind. If you want to follow along with me, I will provide a link in the comment section below or above the video. And if you have any feedback at all, guys, feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, and we'll see how this looks 365 days from now. Take care.